Okie dokie. We're ready to go. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing great. Yeah. This is the second day in the week that I'm streaming. Trying out a new pattern. Living and learning as we go. That's how we do. What are we doing? We are creating this board game. It's a lovely board game called Magnum Sal, where the goal is to dig up salt out of the salt mine in Poland and then bring it to the emperor in their castle and sell it for lots of zloty. While you're there, you can also buy new workers, use the water pump, thank Victor Composes for following. No, you can't really do that, but you can use the water pump, sell and buy salt in the marketplace, and then buy some tools, or do some gambling and always win one single zloty, which is nice. The thing that I've done up until now is really all of this. So all of the rules are in place to mine salt from the salt mine, which includes always having a chain in the salt mine so that you can always bring up salt and workers if you need them. The fact that you need to hold back water as you are mining salt. What else is there? Let's think a little bit. The fact that you need to pay all of these workers if you're transporting salt out of the mine. And then now what we are doing right now is the first upper level, let's say, action that you can take as a player, and that is using the water pump. And using the water pump works like this. Normally, if you are the white player here, there are 2 cubes of salt that you could mine, well, that are available for mining, but you cannot because there are 2 cubes of water here. So you can't bring this 1 block of salt, which is your strength because you only have 1 miner, out of the salt mine. So, but what you could do is use the water pump and pay 2 zloty for that. That means these 2 water cubes will disappear. And then as your second action, you can have this miner mine this salt, but then you'd still have to pay this purple dude. Here, you don't need to pay because your worker is there. But here you still need to pay either the black or the purple player, or here the orange or the purple player to transport the salt out of the mine. So that'll cost you 2, 3, 4, and 5 zloty to mine a single block of white salt there. Maybe not an ideal move, but it's a great example. So what we're doing now is doing the water pump stuff. Maybe let's put this in presentation mode so it'll be a little bit easier on the eyes. These are a bunch of test cases, as you can see. They will be a little bit more easier to read if I go like this. So here are all of my tests for the using the pump house, and the last time we figured out that for all of these test cases, we found that there was some duplication in our code while you're mining from the mine, because you also cannot mine when it's not your turn, but that's like a generic thing that I've built in already. But also you cannot mine when your miner is not in the mine chamber that you want to mine from. Makes sense, right? But you also cannot use the pump house when there's no miner from you in that mine chamber that you want to pump water out of. So it's exactly the same. Here, yeah, it's sort of the same test. This seems a bit weird though, when they are not in a mine chamber. right? This is a specific mine chamber. This is just a mine chamber. And then here in a mine chamber with water. So if you're all over LA, you've got workers, but some of them are in a mine and some of them are not. The mine chamber that you want to pump water out of needs to have water, of course, otherwise you can't be doing that action. This includes past events, so when there used to be water but now there no longer is. And then when you do not have enough money to pay for pumping the water out of the mine. And then the last thing we did was just verifying that whenever you use the water pump and you only pump out one water cube, you don't need to pay anything. And the way that we tested that was by setting the game up a little bit and then using the pump house to pump away just one cube of water. That would then cause some events to happen and on the event stream. And then what we do is we just simply check the entire event stream minus the ones that were used to set up the game. So all of this stuff requires some setup. Those are filtered out automatically because we use this function. And then we just check, all right, for all of those payment events, check which ones are from the white player and then make sure that none of them are a zloty paid event, because you don't need to pay anymore for if you're just using if you're just pumping out one water cube. So the next one are going to be fairly simple because, well, basically it's like a transformation rule, and that's the stuff that we're going to be implementing now as we go along, of course. So I mean, maybe to give like a good baseline, I was gonna say let's run all the tests, but I don't think I've done that when I used my shortcut, because IntelliJ is smart and will only have run the pumping or using the pump house tests. But we do want to run all of the tests just to see that we don't break something else by accident. By the way, it's fun that you're all here. Don't be afraid to say something in the chat or ask questions. So it's a good thing that I indeed did verify that these tests were all working. Okay, so now I remember. The last thing we did was made sure that there's like a good way to go about excluding those events that were set up at the beginning from the ones that we just want to assert on after we did our actual action. So this is all set up, maybe it could be like that. So now what we are doing is we are paying something when we pump out water. So if I just remove this here, then the test should work. So the reason I just put that there is to verify that our test here was indeed working properly for the correct reason. Because we did run into some problems there before. Doop-de-doo. Is it? Jesus, it's going pretty slow today, yeah? Alright, let's see. Aha! Now they are working, all of them. So that's good. So then we can indeed make or expand the test to one where we do have to pay money. So when we are pumping out 2 water cubes, then it's going to cost us 2 zloty. So here's like the translation. So for 1 water you don't need to pay anything, it's basically for free. For 2 you'll have to pay 2. For 3 you'll have to pay 5. You can't really see it, but believe me, it's 5. And then for 4 you'll need to pay 9. So that's about that. Also, we've set up the player to have enough money to pay for the water pump, or to pay the pump house, sorry. So now we are going to pay 2. Hey, Coppa! Nice to see you again. How are you doing? Alright. So, now we do expect some events here, specifically just a single one. So contains only, I think? Maybe, yeah, it's going to be payment events, so contains only zloty paid for the white player, because they are the ones that are using the pump house, and they will have to pay 2 zloty. There we go. That's good to hear that you're doing okay. There we go. Let's run the tests, and it should fail with the fact that there isn't a zloty paid event for white, but there should be one. There we go. And I think what I also want to include is the fact that the bank, and now the bank is supposed to be a player color, but I'm not sure if I want to do that, because what does this mean? So maybe what we'll do instead is either what we'll do is zloty paid to bank, for example, or what we could do is bank received, and then also make them payment events. So many options. Okay, let's lay them out. So we've got this one. We've got zloty paid to bank. We've got, wait, I didn't want that one, I wanted this one. And then zloty received to the bank, which is impossible for now because these are players and not, and bank is not a player, or it shouldn't ever be a player, in fact. Alright, what have we got now? Which option do we prefer? And then also importantly, why? 1, 2, or 3? Tell me. I think I don't prefer this one, because eventually there's also going to be zloty received from bank in that case, but it's always like an interaction or a transaction between a player and the bank. So even if a bank is going to pay, then it should always be a bank and a player. So that's why I don't like this one. Nah. Does not play nice with transactions. What about this one? I think I like this one, but I don't like the fact that bank is not a player. So it just means that we'll need to work around this zloty paid thing to not just include a player, or just not be a player. And that also means that payment event is no longer just a player, which I think we are lucky because yeah. Okay, let's try that. And then the other one is to just have specific events for bank, but I think I prefer this one because it leans in. I was gonna say it reads the nicest, but I'm not sure about that. Let me know if you've got any preferences. So I'm gonna clear on this one because this is not looking great. And then let's just try maybe these options, see how that works. And it would be bank received zloty maybe. Or to make it more consistent, zloty received by bank, something like that. Okay, now I know for sure that I want this one, because it would look like, sorry about that, it would look like this, or it would have to look like this in fact. But then, since all of the reason I want this is because I want that one to also be a payment event. But then a payment event will need a player and the amount of zloty, but we only have the amount of zloty in that case. And not a player. So we would still be adding or making sure that this P here becomes not just a player color, but a recipient or something, or yeah, now we need a generic name for for a payment event. It depends on which event that it was, because if it was zloty received, then P would be a recipient. If it was zloty paid, then it would be the, how do you say that even, the buyer or something. Maybe we can just make this into trader or something. What's a generic term for people? And it could be a bank teller, for example, behind the counter, that both can receive and pay money. How do you say that? A capitalist? I have no idea. But as you can see, it doesn't really make sense. It's no longer in line, or it won't be in line with this. So that's why I will use... Nope. I will use this one. This is the option I'm going with. And then the only thing we'll need is a good name for a player doing that. Thank you for the follow, Copy Katzen. How are you? Right, so it's not going to be received by bank, and we'll just keep both of these events. These will no longer be just player, but will be, maybe let's just do this, person. Then it's no longer a player in the game, right? And we'll have to do that with this one as well. So person, and here instead of player we'll also do person, and instead of player go, oh boy, this is a bigger refactoring probably. Parameter after rename will clash with existing parameter person in zloty. Oh right, I should have kept that. Okay, let's just continue with that and keep these to just be, or oh no, person, there you go. And on the Z's we'll do zloty. Zloty. Okie dokie. And then what we'll need is, I think it's a sealed class that says something like person that can handle zloty. Shit. This is not an event, this is just like a type class, and it will So either you are the bank, which is a person that can be handled with slotty. Is that not a transaction? What exactly is it? This payment event? I think it's just the one side of a... You mean this person thing, or the slotty received and slotty paid stuff? So by the way, a sealed class is a union type. So it means if I have a type of payment event and I use them like so, then there's only going to be two types. Can I do that? No. Yeah, I only have two types, or two types of payment event. One is slotty paid and one is slotty received. And then the transaction, I can show you later what the transaction really is. Alright, so now we've got bank. Let's import that thing. And then I also want the... I think I need a new data class that says an actual player, which will have player color, which is also a person that can handle the slotty. That makes it a little bit different though, because before now I'm going to break the contract of a payment event. I was going to break it anyway. Alright. So... and that be that. And now a lot of stuff has stopped compiling because now a slotty received no longer just takes a player color, but in fact a player with that player color. Yeah, so be it. Add import. There we go. Okay, and then there's one more, which is just this one. And I think it only starts to make sense when you start using these events. So let's just keep the contract up until there. So here's this transaction that I think you were trying to highlight. So a transaction is indeed something where I can control much better what is a legal transaction, so that I don't accidentally how do you say that, create an imbalance somewhere. So that's the reason of existence for this class. And the way you use it is you can only create something with a from and a to. So now this also is going to need to change at some point though, because you no longer only can pay to a player color itself, but also to the bank. But transport costs, however, you can only do to a player color. But that's like a different part there. So yeah, I think it's still going to make sense in a little while. But now that most of that stuff is compiling, let's recompile the rest of the project so that we can see what else is failing. And then okay, so we can still group per person, I think. Ah yeah, but so the bank I don't care about in this case, right? So here what I really want is only filter events, so payment events that belong to a player. So I do want okay, that sucks a little bit, right? See, this wouldn't have happened if I would have had separate bank paid events. Because now the specific type is within the payment event itself, and I need to extract it a little bit. But the thing I'm getting to reuse or will be reusing is this fact, so that you can still have a transaction that you pay to and from a person that can handle money, which also includes the bank. So maybe let's just make this work for now first. Oh yeah, by the way, the thing that it's saying is that this map here requires player color and not, yeah, I guess it's okay if I just have if I just include the bank there as well. Or not. For this it doesn't matter, but for this it sort of does, because I only want player money. Yeah, that's the other thing I could do, is just go like this. Grr. Oh, it's not player, it's a person that can handle Zloty. Sorry. And then here I really need to specify first. So this should be Zloty in the game, I guess, or something like that, or Zloty for a person that can handle money. Zloty. And then these I want to filter so I'm getting a key and the amount of zlotys, so that means person and zloty. And I just want to check that oh, I can do better. Filter, it should be filter keys. And now I think, yeah, I only get the person back, so I only want it is a player. What is problem? The value of the type parameter k should be mentioned in the input types, which are either argument types, the receiver type, or the expected type. Oh, this is actually still wrong, because I also want to map these. Or the other thing I could do is make a player out of that, because that's what's going to work as well. Yeah. So now I didn't break the contract of this for player function, which is, I think, fine. Is it also as hot where you are right now? Because I'm having a hard time. Oh boy. These all need to become players. And to think I used to have a player class. Oh boy. Right, so yes. I need the other player class. Not this one, but the other one. So I'll need the person that can handle Zloty, not player for that. There you go. Your signature looks a bit messed up. You know who else looks a bit... No, I'm just saying. For player, but it takes a color. Ah, yeah, because, yes. So before, let's see, excuse me. In my for player thing, there was a long time. Well, everything before just this point that you just saw. A player was just a player color, and I could have type aliased it, but I was too lazy. So that's the explanation. So right now my my Magnum Sal thing doesn't know what a player is. It's just in the events for now, but I agree that I should refactor it to be a player. But so we'll refactor this later. I just don't want to break the contract of this as well, because then my yeah, I mean, I need to do so much more than just introduce player in the places that need it for now. Replace player. No, player color. Fix signature. Player should be a player, not a player color. There you go. Thank you. Yeah, I do. Yeah. But we'll fix that later. It's okay. It doesn't really matter if I knew it right. It's just a data class anyway. And it's just to make things work, because look at all of this crap that I still need to fix. Isn't that a lot of work? I think it's a lot of work. Alright. I've got an ingenious idea. And you will love it. I will multi-cursor the shit out of this. Hoopity! And then we'll just wrap this in a brace. And then add that to that. And now all is fixed. Haha. I'll come back later when it compiles. It's compiling. Okay, I need two more steps. It's fine. And here. That's lack of confidence. The other thing I could have done was added a new constructor for the event that uses a player. So here we'll need so Zloty per player is no longer all. Yeah. And now this no longer has here I will make this into a person. that can handle zloty. And then when this is a player, I don't know if that works, in fact. Can you do that? Oh, dang it. Yes, you can. Okay, and then if it's the bank, then some icon that represents the bank. Oh, look at that. Now what? I think I need to do it like that because no, not is. Okay, maybe what I can do is do this if it's a player. Oh boy, I'm really messing around with this. Maybe let's revert this bit. And then this stuff I'll need to do in another map. So when this is a Magnum Sal layer, then I will run this stuff again. Okay, this is ugly code, but sorry, what? Oh, yeah, that's correct. Now it's not exhaustive no longer. Yeah, okay. And then when it's a bank, then we'll just return the bank icon. Okay. And now what? Now this is an actual icon or what? Thought so. So what I'll do is I'll do this dot icon, which doesn't exist yet, I think. It's the one I had before, this extension function, but then on an actual player. I have to just get rid of a bunch. Oh wait, I don't need this stuff. Okay. Ah yeah, and it's dot player dot icon, and now this can be player color again. Voila. And then the repeat. Or you know what, I don't need the repeat, or I do need the repeat, yeah. Because now it's going to repeat again. Oh. Okay, let's put a repeat behind this stuff then. And not behind this stuff. Okay, this should do it. Phew! Also, I have no tests for this because it's a pure visualization tool for when debugging, so I hope that, oh no, more bugs, more non-compiling code. I think here we are in a different class, right? Or not? Ah, it was just zloty paid, and before we did zloty received, so there are a couple more that have that signature, so I want okay, it's not before, but it's wrap this, then use create a player with that color, and then I should be done. Okay, I don't need it here because here I just need a bank. Not bank, and now this no longer will work. So now I only want hang on, which test is this? To pump out 2 water. So I no longer want to filter based on the player itself. Here I do, but here I want to go like, just make sure that it's payment events that have for the instance, I think. No, I can't do that. It is how do you do that? Can you say that? Can you go like it's a zloty paid, I guess? Or the other thing I could do is just make sure that this is more specifically zloty paid events, and then should be empty or something. Is empty. And what I can then do is check whether this person is player white, and then person that blah 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 player white. There we go. Yikes. I should have just renamed that other player. Okay, now everything should be compiling though. It's always unsuccessful here. Alright. So I'll do it is a player And now this should just work, right? Oh, it dot person, sorry. And then here it should be player. Ah. This has suddenly become a little bit too hard to my liking to continue with this. What language is it? Ah, it's Kotlin indeed. Yeah. It looks a bit funky, huh? I don't think I like the way it looks now, though. The thing I could possibly do is this, right? No filter. Filter not null. You can't do that in one go. Oh yeah, it should be like a map or something. So we'll do a when around this. And when it is a person that can handle slotty player, and then what we'll return is the person. Then we'll return it.person dot player. I don't know why I did that. Here we go again. You do know Java. It looks a little bit like Java, and Kotlin does run on the JVM, but other than that, it's quite different. It's it doesn't allow null references, for example. So you know all of those null pointer exceptions you get in your runtime. Kotlin tells you, you can't do this, sir. It would be null. So you learn much earlier than when stuff breaks. So that's like a good thing about it. I don't really have a good way to do this, guys. Hey. So really, the only thing I want to do here is find out how much one player has, I think. Oh, I'm not very smart. So this I can just remove by making an economy or something, economy thing. Wasn't it like that? Could have sworn it was a slotty per player class. There we go. So if I just use this and I add the event stream to that, then I can just say for player, the player, and then that'll be fixed. I heard that a Java programmer can learn Kotlin easily though. This is very much true, and the course I followed to help me out was the one by Coursera. They've got a Kotlin for Java developers course, which is really nice. I guess I don't really want to log in right now. There you go. So this I can highly recommend. It doesn't take that long. Okay, they don't cover everything, but for initial stuff, they really teach you, yeah, just the things you need to know. So very good course, I think. Great exercises as well. Okay, yeah. All right, now everything should be compiling, right? Let's get Chris back in the chat. Tell him I'm ready. All right. Okay, now let's see if this thing actually does work. I mean, it should still fail because I only changed my signature. Expecting empty even to contain only the zloty paid from a white with 2 zloty and the received person to be the bank. This looks really strange, so maybe I can do like a better... Can you overwrite 2 string implementations of objects in Kotlin? You are now grade 12 and you want to get ready to transit to C++ because at university they will give you C++ stuff. But you think that what you learned in Java will be useful when learning C++? That's fair, I think, yeah. I don't know C++ myself that well, but if you've learned good object-oriented programming principles, then those will surely just port over to C++. But there's like a bunch of specifics in Java that are different than C++. Like I think in C++, do you still need to deal with pointers and stuff? I don't know if that's the case. Java swing and you're ready to learn multi-threading. Okay. Yeah. All the basics. So is that just syntax? Do you mean syntax with basics or also like design patterns and stuff? Because think of anything what you want to be focusing on whenever you're learning any language is like proper design patterns tied to the paradigm of the language. Like Java and C++ are object-oriented. Okay, great. That's good. So those object-oriented programming will be definitely transferable to your learning C++ at uni. Exciting, cool. What is grade 12, by the way? I'm from Belgium. We've got like different school system probably, so. You use Vim to write code and you use the compiler JDK 11. That's cool. I can't do anything in Vim. I'm really bad at it. But I love my IntelliJ. It helps me a lot. Cool. I mean, quite a lot. Yeah, so now we need to implement this stuff, right? So here, after this, I want to say push zloty paid for one player for 2, I think it was. Oh, let's just do it fixed. Ah yeah, and now I need a wrap a player around that. There we go. And I also want to push, maybe it'll be a little bit more clear if I use width though, because then I can just do this. Zloty received, received, bank, and received 2. So yeah. Learned some algorithms. It was hard at first, but got used to it. No. Oh yeah, of course. So this makes sense that the other test is now failing. At least this one is working, but now I broke the other one, which is good, which is really good actually. So now we only need to make sure that whenever you're taking out 2, so this is like an easy thing. Let's extract this into something like pay for pumping or something, I don't know. And then we will need to add the water to pump. We'll add that as a parameter. And then what I can say is okay, so now I'm already thinking in if-else branches, but let's just write it out first. Water to pump is bigger than 1. Then we want to do this. And else I don't want to do anything. So this should already make it work. And it should already be fine for what I need now. Yeah. So the thing I'm thinking about now is remember that choice that we had earlier as to how to make this an explicit thing. So do we want a zloty received with a bank, or do we want to do something like bank received zloty, and then you don't need that, and it's a very specific event, and that will also allow sorry, like this. And then that will also allow us to do a little bit more specific, be a little bit more specific about which events that we can search. It will just make everything a little bit easier. So I'm just thinking now, if I continue implementing this pay for pumping stuff, then it will be more work to revert all of that stuff and use a different way. But will it be that different though? Maybe not. What event all did have that thing again? Yeah, so payment events already had like a player. These are difficult choices. Let's just continue. I feel like continuing. Why not? There we go. Zloty received to the bank. We will rerun all of the tests just to verify that everything is fine. Everything is fine. Okay, next use case would be If you want to pay 3, or want to, sorry, pump out 3 zloty, it's going to cost you 5. This should fail. And now, normally what we would do is write just an else branch and make it work and then refactor that stuff. But the thing I'm going to be doing instead, sue me, or well, don't sue me, but is bump the max and then also make sure that it's 9. And then verify that both of them fail. And then we can already start working towards like a much better solution. Because the thing I'm not expressing now in my pay for pumping thing is I want to have something that says 1 or 0 or 1, I think. I don't think you can pump. I haven't got a case where you want to pump 0 water. That makes no sense. We'll need to add that as a test. Let's do that first so that I don't forget. A player cannot use the pump house for pumping no water, or 0 water cubes would be a little bit more explicit. This should fail. You two want to pump at least some water or something like that. There we go. Then we can continue with the rest. So what I really wanted to do was like 1 pay nothing. And I want to make this really explicit. So maybe instead of pay for pumping should become, because it's always going to be both of these events, and it's just the price that's going to change this one, and this needs to be the same. So what I will do is I will change that. I will inline it first, maybe. Nah, just do it like this. And then we'll extract the 2 here, and this is water pump cost. I think I wanted to do that, yeah. Both water pump cost. There we go. So initially it's 2, but really what I want to do is figure out or get water pump cost for water to pump. And then that becomes that. And now we can really just write it like that. In fact, we can just say when water to pump. This will make disappear, and then we'll just return. Oh yeah, and now it should return also zloty. Else explode. illegal state or something argument. Or do we want to make an explicit exception here? I think let's just do state now. You can't get a water pump cost for water to pump. Oh, I forgot the throw keyword. All right, there we go. And now we will just inline this, or sorry, expression body that thing. Only format this. Okay, yeah. And then maybe this can be pay for water. Pay water pump. Okie dokie. So now do we want to do this first, or I think we want to do this first and then that. Now, you saw me do this and I didn't write a test for that. Don't at me. I could make it a little bit easier on myself there as well. Hey. Oh yeah. Ah yeah. Okay, so this they don't need to pay. So what I'll do instead, I can do this and not, and also throw null there. And in that case, my function should be returning a question mark. And then what I could do is, let's do it one step at a time. And then the water pump cost becomes just it. And now we will only do this when the water pump cost, when there is a water pump cost, and now we can just inline that. There we go. And run this. And now the only thing that's failing is this for no cubes. So this is the gathering stuff that we extracted last time. So maybe the first thing that I'll do here is say that transition, or maybe after. Do we do it after? Let's do it before. Transition requires. I forgot the message that I wrote. To want to pump at least some water. And when do we throw that? When water to pump. It needs to be bigger than 0. Ah. So this is like that typical guard clause that you can extract into a specific type, so that when you then pass this type, you no longer need to do this because it's within the rules of your type. And you can't put it in water cubes because water cubes could be 0, right? I guess the time that you want to do something with water cubes is always, you'll need at least 1, right? So maybe we could extract it into a proper object for water cubes, this thing. But at least for now, let's keep it like this. I think we've done plenty of refactoring now. And we've got all of our tests running and working. Do we think we can still improve some stuff other than this one then? The other thing I don't really like is that gather is now in between these transition requires style of doing checks. We could extract this into something else. Okay, yeah, my mind was just wandering a little bit there, like what would happen if I were to move all of this? And what's this water pump cost? Oh, there's a bug. And I haven't got it with any tests, so now I need to write tests. So as you can see, this water pump cost thing is this function. But there's no test failing, and then I already wrote it for that, so I will need to write like at least one extra test, I guess, when they do not have enough zloty. And now I would need to write multiple tests for all of the various cases, sort of the transformations, let's say. But let's say if I try to do it for 9. When trying to pump. Oops. Trying to pump the max amount of water. Something like that, maybe. Then we'll also need to make sure that there's 4 water cubes available on all of the tiles. Okay. So 8 is not enough because you need 9. And this test is likely going to fail now because I mean, I want to see it fail because otherwise my setup is not doing something right. But yep. Okay. And now I can do is say return get water pump cost for water to pump. Yeah, which might return null. And now I'll need to say if there is no water pump cost, just take the default of 0 and then you always have enough zloty. So that would mean that if you would try to... Oh, dang it. Now I also need to say you can't pump more than 4. So now it's starting to make more sense to put that in an object. Okay, let's first do this. Okay. My test should work now. Then I will inline this so that water pump cost is the one that's going to be used. Okay, so I want to use this name because it's much shorter and it's more explicit. So let's inline this first and then rename this one. Okay, so now you can see that for both paying the water and in this requirement, we get to use the same function. And my code should still work. Yay! So that's good. And then I'll need to write a new test that says, where was it? More than 4 water cubes. So the API allows you to do that. Do not want to pump more than the water. The pump house allows. Transition requires you to not want to pump more than the pump house allows. Yeah. And this is going to fail. All right. Because you're getting different messages, huh? So this never happens. So if I go to here, it should be smaller or equal than 4 to not want to pump more than the pump house allows. Okay, and then once this is done, we will do a little commit and then we will refactor those things into a specific data class so that we rule out some impossibilities in the signature using types, because types are awesome. All right, so this is the full implementation of the pump house normally. Implemented pump house action complete. Maybe. Okay, and then I'll show you what I did with the mine action, because in your mine action you can also choose to or was it to do? Oh right, we'll fix that later. That's the one I added to appease Chris. So joking, I'll get to that later. Yes, the thing I wanted to show is that when you're doing a mine action, let me show you or explain a little bit more the rules. So, for example, this white meeple here is a miner for the white player. They are in a mine chamber that contains 2 cubes of salt and 2 cubes of water. Now, you can only mine as much as rested miners you've got in a mine chamber. So with that information, you could now conclude that there's only 1 white miner there, so they can only mine 1 white cube. So if you don't take into account water, then that's correct. So let's say for now, for brevity's sake, that is correct. But then still, you'd need to have some way to get this cube of salt out of the mine. And for that, you'll need to pay a transport cost for every tile that you do not have a worker on. And for the white player, that's not this one, because they've got a miner there, here, and here as well. But they don't have a miner here, here, or here. So for mining 1 salt, they could choose, okay, I need to pay the purple player anyway because they're the only miner there. Here I don't need to pay, no need to pay, no need to pay. And then here they can choose to give their money to either the purple player or the black player. And here again they can choose to either give the orange player or the black player a zloty. So that means that for one mining action of 1 cube of salt, they need to somehow pay like an amount of miners for the transportation cost. And to represent that, I introduced the transport cost distribution. Haha. And this is an object that sort of makes it impossible to do something wrong while doing the distribution. Yeah, but then of course, oh yeah, I just come to think of it, there's more stuff that can go wrong now, because you could be paying players that have no miners in the shaft, for example. God damn it. So I'm happy that I'm explaining this, because now I've got another possible bug. Multiple salt blocks when player does not have enough money. Okay, so this is paying multiple players. Paying multiple players for 2 salts, 1 position. So now what we should do is paying multiple players for I don't care how many salts, but where one of the players has no miner in the mine shaft, should be impossible. Okay, maybe let's call it not the mine shaft, because transport chain. So this you can't do. And the reason I chose to use the word transport chain and not just mine shaft is because this is the shaft. But let's see. Yeah, so for example, purple here, they can also mine salt, but they still need to pay transport for this spot, and this is not a mine shaft, but it's a mine chamber. So the transport chain would be from here all the way up to the top. And then for all of those positions, the purple player might need to pay zloty for transport. So I'll need to write a test for that as well. So I did make a commit, right? I did, but then I added, yeah, so that makes sense. Okay, this is not going to be that easy, I'm afraid. So where one of the players has no miner in the transport chain, well, one of the players that you want to pay. I mean, the easiest way for me to test this is by just making this transport cost distribution where I pay a player that's not even playing the game, which is purple in this case. So this player doesn't even exist. I wonder, actually, I think another test covers this case. here you go. Not to pay more zloty for salt transport than is yeah, I think this might cover it, I think. Yeah, so this is not a good case then. Damn it. Okay, now we need to make sure that the orange player has no miner there, so that means that we'll be forced to pay the black player 2 zloty. So that would be the legal case, I mean, huh? So this should fail, so then we'll do that. Wrap that in curly braces, then say assert inspection of type illegal transition is thrown by, and then the block I already had there. And then I can further assert with message transition requires a transporting player to have a miner in the transport chain. Or should I call it requires a player in the transport cost distribution to have a miner in the transport chain? Pay miners in the transport chain. That makes a lot more sense. Okay, you don't know who that you wanted to pay zloty to that that wasn't in the mine in the transport chain, but that's okay, I think. Okay, so white is going to be paying black for 1, orange for 1, so it means the transport cost is 2 in total. That's because they're mining 2 blocks of salt from a position at 2-1, and 2-1 is here. So then, since they need to pay black and orange, black is going to be here maybe, and orange is going to be there. But you know what? Let's run this test first and see what we actually have in the mine when this method gets hit, or this function. Okay. Yeah, so, oh. Oh yeah, actually, that's so silly. I should have copied the setup from before. So really, what I need to do here so it's it was orange's turn here, so maybe what I need to do, so then it's white's turn, then it would mean that it's black's turn next. So what I need to do next is Magnum Sal. Have white pass white twice, then black pass twice, and then have orange remove miner orange at 2, 0. And then the next person's turn would be white again, so it should work now. Okay, now the test should still fail, I think. And for exactly this reason. Except it's not failing at all. So now we'll need to go to the implementation and verify that whenever someone tries to mine and handle a transport, transition requires, yeah, and then I'll copy the text because I always keep forgetting that stuff. You to only pay miners in the transport chain. And now I'll need to supply something that needs to be true, otherwise this will go. So the true predicate should be every player in the transport cost distribution needs to have at least one miner. Oh no, it's more specific than that. Hey, this is becoming more difficult than I thought. Okay, so first, let's try to implement it like I thought before. So the thing that needs to be true here is, let's write it here, let's write it in the method. Every player in the distribution should have at least one miner in the transport chain. Lol. So we'll do transport distribution thing. Let's just create function, sure. We'll change this later on. At this point, I think it's still strange that I did that here. And what should happen if you do no transport cost distribution? That's just when you're not going to pay anyone, but that's fine if you completely occupy the transport chain. Okay, so I'll also write stuff down that I know that I haven't taken into account. Does not take into account a player having multiple miners and being paid for that. So this you could solve. We could check that, but it's going to be way more difficult. So we could check that a player has at least the same amount of miners than they're being paid for in the transport cost distribution. And what else could we check? I mean, this will produce more and more test cases, and then we'll need to fix them one at a time, I think. And that will lead us to the just enough software design, hopefully. But the thing that I've been noticing constantly, in fact, is when I write stuff like this, the transition requires, I do something here, but then I only want to do it or execute it actually over here. And even though I've already checked that it could be null, and then you don't need to handle any salt transport basically. But the thing that this could be returning is just a cost itself, and then extract this out of there. So we could just say we already have a transport cost thing. This is like the most simple implementation, but then this is just verifying that the cost is covered in your distribution according to the game rules. Did we have a fail? Yeah, no, we have a failing test, right? Yes, because nothing is being thrown here. Oh, this should return a boolean. Yeah. So let's just ask this transport distribution thing, hey, do you cover the complete transport chain? Oh, I don't want to do this because transport cost distribution has nothing to do with tiles and stuff, I guess, or positions at or anything like that. It was just a way to bundle together the players that you want to pay to, so that it's easy to execute transactions on that. And if I were to ask it, can you cover the transport chain, then I would need to include the event stream, or like have that event stream as a dependency to a transport cost distribution class, and I don't want to do that. So and the other thing I don't want to do is mess with its internals. So I don't want to expose any of the internals, like the from and the payment per player, for example. Maybe the thing I could do is, instead of passing it along an event stream, pass it along a transport chain. That would work much nicely. Can cover, and then like a transport chain that we build up using the event stream. And then the other thing I could do is what? Let me figure out where those pings are coming from. And mute them. done, I think. Yeah, he's just keeping on posting it. Damn it. Right, so we were checking out where this transport chain thing is coming from. Oh no, sorry, we were going to be building up this stuff. And then I remembered this transport needed thing is sort of like that, right? Because it sort of represents, here you go, positions the salt will travel. And then we also check, hey, for every position that the salt will travel, what are the miners there and then that are not part of the player? So instead of just counting them, we could make this transport chain object using this and then implement this function using a transport chain, so that, yeah, because this only requires the count basically, right? Okay. I was just checking the time. Because I don't want to leave this game. I mean, I don't want to leave this code in this position or in this state, aka non-compiling. So the thing I will do is write more to-dos. Then at least I'll know what I'll need to do. To do refactor this into a transport chain using a transport chain class. And then that we can reuse in the transport cost distribution check. All right. Return false. I think I might break everything then, because it will always return false. So let's do return true, and in that case, just the one test was going to fail. All right, let's check if the rest of the tests are working. Wait. Oh yeah, that's the one that I added. Okay, nice. Okay, looks legit. I'm gonna call it quitsies. Thank you so much for hanging out. I hope it was worthwhile for you. Alright, so if you want to follow the project, or maybe even wanna do or have a go at it yourself, here is a repository that you can use to get started. It's got a bunch of branches. If you want to just do a quick start, or the very little time one, it's not 60 minutes, it's more than that, I'm afraid. But, you know, like, play along with it. Yeah, it just shows you how to do this yourself, basically. Just with a single test, the rules get explained a little bit more easily. And the idea really is to push creating classes as long as you can, and just depend on using the event stream for as long as you can. So if you are into that kind of stuff, or just want to learn a little bit of Kotlin, or have a project that you want to try Kotlin on, this would be like a good one. And then the rest of my current code you can watch or follow along here. And there we go. All right, let's find someone to host. LiveCode. Let's go to the LiveCoders and see who's. So shout out to the LiveCoders, by the way. All right, so this is not the team, but this is the actual. How do you call it? Twitch account, where we are going to be hosting the LiveCoders conference in June. But we should also have some other people. All right, let's host Bald Bearded Builder. All right, let's see what he's up to. Yesterday he was building his own website, or rebuilding it. All right, here we go. Let's not misspell this. Bald Bearded Builder. All right, it's been real. If I'm not streaming earlier, I will probably be streaming again on Sunday. So yeah, thanks for hanging out, and until the next time. Hope you enjoyed it. Give the man some love. Bye.